began as a flicker of imagination in the dim hours of a sleepless night and grew into something insidious, obsessive, a dream too monstrous to ignore. Daniel Harker wasn't just building an escape room. He was designing an experience meant to haunt the soul, not a simple game with locks and riddles, but a masterpiece of terror so immersive, so unsettling, that players wouldn't merely remember it, they'd carry it with them like a shadow. The setting, a place with a history steeped in death and whispers. The Grayson Manor stood at the edge of Cold Hollow, its tall, rotting spires clawing at the overcast sky. Local legend claimed the house breathed, its walls pulsing with something alive or worse, undead. Daniel had grown up hearing tales of the manor, how children had vanished within its halls, how entire families had fled in the dead of night, swearing they'd heard voices calling them back. For most, these were just ghost stories meant to keep kids from wandering too far. But for Daniel, it was inspiration, a playground for the mind, a canvas for the macabre. To Daniel, creating a compelling escape room meant going beyond the physical space. It meant embedding a theme so powerful it dug into your psyche. The Orphan's Curse was born of his desire to bridge the gap between fantasy and reality, a tale so seamless you wouldn't know where the fiction ended. The story was simple, deceptively so. Players were investigators tasked with uncovering the tragic mystery of Evelyn, an orphan girl who'd lived and perhaps died inside Grayson Manor. Rumor had it Evelyn had been searching for her lost family, and those who dared step into the manor's embrace were drawn into her game. But here's the catch: Evelyn wasn't the one in danger. Evelyn was the danger. The escape room didn't just follow a linear narrative. It trapped its players in a web of uncertainty, leaving them to question what was part of the game and what was not. Ambience wasn't a backdrop. It was a character in Daniel's twisted creation. From the moment players approached the house, a sense of foreboding wrapped around them like fog. The wrought iron gates creaked open, seemingly on their own, and the long, broken pathway to the door felt endless under the dim glow of flickering lanterns. Once inside, the senses were assaulted. The air was thick with the scent of damp wood and something metallic like old blood. Walls groaned as if the house stretched awake from a long slumber. Dim, uneven lighting created shadows where none should exist. Daniel's attention to detail was his most frightening tool. Each room told its own part of Evelyn's story. The nursery, a room filled with broken toys and eerie murals of faceless children painted on peeling walls. A music box, cracked and slightly off tune, played by itself. The dining hall, a long table with cracked china and chairs turned awkwardly, as though guests had fled mid-meal. On the table, dried red stains hinted at something far from a normal dinner party. The attic, the final room. Players would climb creaking stairs to find Evelyn's secret, her shriveled doll, its glassy eyes looking suspiciously real. But it wasn't just the visuals. The sounds, footsteps above, whispers that seemed to follow players blurred the lines between game design and genuine horror. And then, of course, there were the things that moved. A picture falling, a rocking chair swaying ever so slightly. Things Daniel insisted were part of the experience, though even he could never quite explain how. The puzzles were not simple riddles scribbled on scraps of paper. They were stories in themselves, challenging the player's intellect and nerve. The orphan's letter. A crumpled letter found in the nursery held clues to the combination of an old chest. The catch: the ink on the letter faded, unless read aloud, and as players recited the cryptic text, the room grew colder, as though Evelyn was listening. A strange clock, its hands made of brittle, bone-like material, needed to be aligned with symbols found carved into the walls. As players turned the hands, distant echoes of screams filled the room. growing louder with each incorrect attempt. In the dining hall, players were forced to perform a seance to receive the final clue. Candles flickered violently as a Ouija board seemed to guide itself. Messages appeared, urging players to get out before it was too late. But those who rushed, they missed the vital hints and paid the price. The beauty of these puzzles lay not just in their challenge, but in their consequences. Failure didn't just cost you time, it frayed your nerves. Lights flickered, shadows grew darker, and sometimes Evelyn herself would appear in a mirror, watching you with hollow eyes. Daniel's genius wasn't just in the game, but in the way it ended. Players who thought they had solved all the puzzles would reach the front door, triumphant, but the door wouldn't open. Instead, a whisper would drift through the air. "You didn't save me, now you'll stay." And as the lights went out one final time, each player would feel a small, icy hand wrap around theirs. When the lights returned, the door would swing open, but the players would never be the same. Daniel's escape room opened to a frenzy of excitement. People traveled from all corners of the country to experience his masterpiece. Some left shaken, muttering about the real effects. Others didn't leave at all. Over time, rumors swirled that Daniel's obsession had unleashed something from the house's past. Players spoke of hearing Evelyn's laughter long after they'd gone home, of waking up to find wet footprints leading to their beds. One cold night, after the last group for the evening had finished, Daniel vanished. The manor's security footage caught him walking into the attic, where Evelyn's doll Saturday waiting. It never came back down. Now, Grayson Manor remains sealed, the escape room abandoned. But if you listen closely, they say you can hear Evelyn humming through the cracks in the walls, waiting for her next visitors. Will you step inside, or will you heed the whispers that warn you to stay away? Because some doors are meant to stay closed forever.